And this is the Go Show, celebrating all things outdoors in this beautiful outdoor playground of a world that we live in. I am streaming right now. We are streaming on Instagram, we are streaming on YouTube, and we're streaming on Facebook. So join along, will you, every Saturday morning, 8 o'clock. And we're going to have a lot of fun stuff throughout the week as well. So definitely tune in for that. Now, I got to start with something that went on this morning, and it was interesting to me. And if you know me, for 11 years we've been doing this, and in those 11 years we have had several stories that people, what is Mike getting into, what is we getting into, why is Mike talking about spring training or whatever it is. Just give me a long runway, just give me some runway, and I assure you I'm going to get to where it ties into the outdoors. So this morning I went to go grab us some coffee, and I am addicted to Starbucks cold brew. I'm going to admit that. I have zero problem. I'm not sponsored by Starbucks. The show is not sponsored by Starbucks. I am a Starbucks cold brew addict. I am. I have to have it. You can pry it from my cold dead hands. I don't care. Recently, I have drastically cut down on alcohol consumption. So now it's gone from I'm just having a few beers a day, a bunch on the weekends, to now I just occasionally had one. Last night at First Friday, had a couple of Pilsners, and that was it. So I've drastically cut down on that. I've cut sugar out of my life years ago, years and years ago. And now I don't want to get rid of all of my vices. Starbucks cold brew is one of them. Anyway, not starting the show without it. So run out to Starbucks, and they hand me my girlfriend's drink first, and it's kind of sugary, and it bounced like the stuff shot out of the top of the lid, and we put a stopper in it, and they hand it to me in the drive-through, and then pour my cold brew, the big one, all over the place. A little bit gets on the truck, and she's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, no big deal. I'm like, more coffee has spilled in this truck, and y'all come with me on this, right? More coffee has spilled in this truck than probably any Starbucks has ever made. Like, coffee is part of my truck's DNA, and probably yours as well, right? And I said, no big deal. Don't worry about it. Everything's fine. She said, no, I'm just worried about the swarm of bees that's going to come. I didn't want to tell the poor soul that black coffee isn't really what the bees are into. Just not. I don't think so. I'm addicted to it. I don't think Barry B. Benson is going to be into it. So basically, she said, I'm allergic to bees. Look, I'm going to say that probably 9 out of 10 people that claim they're allergic to bee stings have never been stung by a bee. They're just afraid of bees. They use allergies as an excuse, right? And that's okay. But I'm more just, no, I'm afraid of bees. I'm not afraid of bees. I'm not afraid of wasps. I'm not afraid of snakes. I'm just not afraid. The odds of me getting bit or stung, crazy. So I told you, long runway gets us to the outdoors. The weather is starting to change. We're starting to look forward to spring. We're starting to look forward to summer here in Arizona. Yes, we do look forward to summer in Arizona. If you're new to the Valley, we welcome you here. We love that you're here. This is the Go Show. Thanks for hanging out with us. And I'm your host, Mike Russell. I love the Valley. I'm a Southern California transplant, and we love the heat. We embrace it. Trust me, you're going to get through it. It's fantastic, but we're looking forward to that. So it's going to bring a lot of bees. Bees are going to be around. Bees are going to be buzzing and just kind of doing their thing for the most part. And I know there was a big, the media loves to sensationalize a lot of things. Africanized bees. We're all going to die. They're all going to attack us. No, not really the case. It has happened, as have shark bites in the ocean. It just happens. Nature happens. If you're outside, nature happens. We're eco-tourists in most scenarios that we're in as human beings. So bees, we need these things. Don't worry about bees. Go about your way, because they're going about their way. Bees are just doing their thing. Bees are bees because they have a mission. They have a one task in life, and that is to pollinate and help the pollination process of all the wonderful, beautiful plant life that we have here in this world. So bees are good. If a bee is hovering around you at the pool, the bee probably is attracted to your very loud swim shorts, right? That's it. The bee doesn't understand we're having a pool day. The bee doesn't understand a barbecue. The bee sees something bright, looks like a flower, is going to go check it out, right? And by the way, the bee just might be cool. I mean, might just be, man, you got flowers on your shorts. I see you're dressing yourself with flowers here. Let me pollinate these things for you. I got you, buddy. I got you. Yeah, it might just be being might be a nice gesture. I see you're having a barbecue. Maybe they do understand. So you're having a barbecue. Enjoy. I see you have flowers that you're decorating yourself with. Allow me to pollinate those. Yeah, just let the bee do its thing. It's just going to investigate and realize that that tastes like chlorine. I'm out of here. Yeah, it's that easy. We need bees. We need bees. Remember, I think a few years ago, I don't know if we fixed this, but there was a honeybee shortage. And if you have bees at the house, you have a bee hive at the house, call a beekeeper. They'll come grab it. My buddy Santos at Suntan Honey Farms, he's amazing at it. I actually went on a bee extraction with him. This is one of the coolest, like, conservation-y, outdoorsy things you could do, and it's so much fun. I'm in a full bee suit. No lie. I'm in a full bee suit because I don't, I'm not afraid of bees, but I don't want to get stung. No one wants to get stung. And here's Santos and his buddy, his business partner, and they're in short sleeves, and they got bees flying all around them. They got bees crawling up their hands. They don't care. The entire time they weren't stung. Not stung once. He said one tried to sting him, but it kind of a misfire. And that was it. It was so fascinating and so fun to watch. There's something called a queen clip. And they actually they see all these bees, and the bees are just doing the thing, and they're moving around, and they're doing this and that. Doing what bees do, shaking their little stingers. And they say queen, and they grab it with a queen clip. And it's kind of like, it looks like a hair clip, like, the women use to put the hair clip in there. It looks just like that. And then they put it over in their little honeycomb, little fake honeycomb box thing. And then the bees just kind of migrate over to the queen. They just go right over there. They don't care who put the queen there. They just notice the queen's over there. And they go over there to their new little hive. And they go in there and they hang out, and they take it. And then the guys are taking all this big pieces of honeycomb and putting them in the new box. And so they got their little spot that they're doing things in. And then boom, you don't have bees. A bee goes to a beekeeper. Honey gets spread throughout the land, all that joy and goodness. And the bees keep running around the neighborhood, pollinating everything and keeping everything looking good. See? Yeah. Don't go kill the bees. Let a beekeeper come and take care of it for you. That's just what I say. And my apologies to my buddy Big Game Judd from On Target Pest Control. Yeah, sorry, buddy. Yeah, use him for everything else, the other bugs that we need to kill around the house. But bees, take care of those bees, and don't bother them because they shouldn't be bothering you. So just ignore them. They'll ignore you. They have a job to do, and you're out just having some outdoor fun. Is that fair enough? Especially when you have fishing and things like that. I know, because you think you're using the arm movement in casting and stuff that's going to agitate them. Just kind of chill for a second. Just chill for a second. It's okay. Anchor up. Let the bee do his thing. He's, like I said, he's going to just check out the bright colors and then scoot away. And I know I'm about to get some heat. It might not be a he. It's probably not a he. It's probably a she. Here we go. Yeah. Hey, thanks for hanging out. This is the Go Show, celebrating all things outdoors, this beautiful outdoor playground of a world that we live in. Now, last night here in the Phoenix area, they have something called First Friday. And First Friday is a downtown Phoenix art festival that's really cool. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's a festival. There's live music, and I mean live music everywhere. And again, long runway. Stay with me here. This is my first time to First Friday, and my first Friday. I'll go with it. There's no intern Beans isn't here to make fun of me or give me a fine for dad jokes. So we'll go through and by the way, I went through a whole bee segment without any bee dad jokes. You're welcome. Beans would be proud of me. So First Friday, you're walking around, milling around, and there's a lot of people sitting, a lot of vendors, a lot of food trucks. It's just it's a festival kind of atmosphere and a lot of fun. And in that, you have people celebrating their First Amendment right and just preaching or protesting. This is where things got interesting, because there was a street preacher out there. He had a microphone. He was preaching the word of God, and he was getting out his word and in his gospel and his ministry. Well, that was a little too much for one of the patrons that decided to basically get in this guy's face. And again, long runway. This is an outdoor show. In our outdoor world, firearms and the Second Amendment are very important to all of us. The man that was preaching was wearing an NRA jacket. Now, I'm a lifetime member of the NRA. I didn't even notice the logo on the guy's jacket. It's just a little tiny NRA jacket. Just a little tiny NRA logo, on his jacket. And I understand if you have some issues with the NRA. I have issues with the NRA as well. Still a lifetime member, still a proud member, still preach the advantages of joining and being a member of the NRA. And my good friend Tim Forshee, who you're going to see on this program quite a bit coming up, we're going to talk a lot about gun safety. He brought it up this way. He said, if you don't want to join the NRA, I understand. If you have some problems, I get it. But how many people here, and this was during the concealed carry class, he said, how many people here are registered to a certain party, whether Republican, Democrat, whatever it is? How many of you are registered to a party? Most of the room held their hand up. And he said, okay, now how many of you agree with everything that your party does? No one held up their hand. Of course, he said, that's my point. He said the NRA, whether we like it or not, I think the NRA and NSSF, National Shooting Sports Foundation, are the two organizations that are protecting our Second Amendment. They're the reason why we still have a Second Amendment, is their lobbying efforts. So just for that and that alone, those organizations standing between you and politicians that don't want you to be able to have your Second Amendment right, then I'd say kick them a couple bucks for membership. That's what I would say there. Anyway, back to this. The street preacher that was wearing the NRA jacket, a man decided to get all up in his business. And I mean all up in his business. There were people, how can you be a Christian? How can you be a Christian and support the NRA? Do you want the list alphabetically? There's a lot of reasons. As a matter of fact, I don't care if you're a Christian. I don't care if you're agnostic. I don't care if you're, you said Judaism, Islam, whatever it is. If you're an American, you have every right to have a firearm, period. Several of them, as many as you want. It's protected by the Second Amendment. So obviously this guy's a little off his rocker, going after a man who's just preaching his religion. He's preaching his religion on the corner, and he goes after the logo on his jacket. It has nothing to do with why that man's there, but gets up in his face, and it's all about the NRA killing babies, whatever his argument was. Let me help you out with this. This is something that I was looking forward to doing, not getting up in people's grill. Looking forward to doing going to First Friday, because I was told that PETA would be there. PETA, if you don't know, is People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. That's PETA, P-E-T-A. We like to say it stands for People Eating Tasty Animals, but that's our difference there. So PETA usually shows up. The PETA crew usually shows up in protests and does whatever the PETA people do. So I was looking forward to actually having a dialogue and having a conversation if one of the protesters would like to have a conversation with me. I think that would be a worthwhile endeavor. And it's something that I've done before. I don't back away from a conversation. Sometimes I am excited to engage in a conversation and start the process, but it's never that. And I want to encourage each and every one of you to kind of follow along those guidelines. Think about the guy who is just there preaching his word. He feels compelled by his spirit, his soul, to go preach the word of his religion, preach the word of the Bible. And he is basically verbally accosted because he's wearing an NRA jacket that has absolutely nothing to do with why he's there. You aren't going to change that man's mind, especially if you're doing it that way. And I was impressed by the street preacher, I guess we'll call that street preacher. I keep looking over like intern Beans is here. The street preacher. I commend him because he was very polite. He was very calm. He was very kind. He kept on his way, just kept trying to almost ignore the guy. Like, okay, I get it. I respect you. He knew his name. He kept addressing him by his name. And he was very respectful and calm. Street preacher wins this one. And I want to win hearts and minds about our way in the outdoor world. I really do. It's important to me. And I know how to do it. And I know how to do it over years of learning. You know me and my old co-host here in Phoenix was Rob Hunter. Rob Hunter's from Massachusetts. Rob Hunter thought people that even fired firearms were lunatics. Hey, why would you even have a gun? That's just dumb. Why would you go to a place and shoot guns? How stupid is that? That's when I met Rob. Fast forward 17 years, Rob has several firearms because I just talked to Rob. Rob didn't come at me like I was a lunatic, and I didn't come at him like he was some, crazy communist. We just had conversations over time. So going back to First Friday, Nobody is going to win when you just go on the attack. If you're on the offensive, it's not going to work. If you engage in a respectful dialogue and a respectful conversation, that's where we win. Whether you like it or not, I understand. I stand on the tenets of the North American model of wildlife conservation. I understand our role as sportsmen and women in this. I get it. I know it. And I can preach it. Trust me, I've studied it. I could give sermons on the North American model of wildlife conservation. But I don't come running at them with that kind of information. I want to know what they're about. I want to know why they're standing on a corner with a sign that has a dead cow or something on it and says this is what was in your Big Mac. I don't know what the sign says. By the way, the PETA people weren't there last night. Very disappointing. But that was I want to know why they're there. What compelled them to do that? And if the man, his name was John, that approached the street preacher, if John were to walk up to the man and say, hey, listen, I noticed that you're here preaching the word of God. It kind of seems contradictory. You have an NRA jacket on. Here's why. And if the street preacher had said, good, tell me why. Tell me why you feel that way. Turn the microphone off. Let's have a one-on-one conversation. We're winning hearts and minds right there. That's how you win hearts and minds. This is having a respectful conversation. Because I think a lot of the judgment that we have and a lot of the diehard ideologies that we have are because we don't expand and actually look at others. We don't see the other sides of things. I am wildly guilty of that in most things outside of the North American model or my feelings on Washington, D.C. that we can get into a whole different topic. You listen to the Brewmans if you want to hear us chatting about that. But I'm guilty of it too. It's human. It's human to be firm in what you want. And I respect people that are firm. One of the first questions I ask people, because I want to know where they're coming from, if they say, oh my gosh, I saw you posted a picture of you and your son. You guys, you shot a bison. And I want to know who I'm dealing with at that point, because I want to know, are you a vegan? Because vegans I can respect. I really can. I mean, you're all in. God bless you. God love you. If you are, I do not want to harm any animal type of person, well, you better be a vegan then. If you're coming at me, you just parked your Honda with leather seats in it, and you've got a belt and you're wearing, leather Doc Martens, well, we're going to have a conversation about, it's kind of, there's some hypocrisy there, but it's going to be calm. It's going to be kind of pointing out almost in a joking way. Like, you're getting mad at me for taking an animal when someone had to take the animal that you're wearing. It's obvious, but our job, is to win hearts and minds. Again, I can stand on the tenets. I have all the facts. I have the countless number of animals that we have brought back from the endangered list, the protected list, and put basically onto the North American model, put them as part of the North American model of wildlife conservation and brought them into thriving populations. I have example on top of example. None of that is going to be helpful in winning hearts and minds if I don't understand their side first or listen and show them that they're with a respectful person, having a conversation with a respectful person that is going to later present facts and let them absorb that. Rarely are you going to change people's minds right on the spot. You just plant that seed. Give them something to think about. And maybe they will never, ever, never even buy into the notion of the model of wildlife conservation, but they won't judge. They'll understand like I do. I understand there's PETA people. I get it. And in my eyes, they're just uneducated and misinformed, but they're passionate. I respect that. They're Americans. They have their First Amendment right. And I will just go, you do your thing. I'll respect you for it. Go for it. Be passionate about it. Have a drive. But I have to have that attitude for them to even hear one word that I'm saying. And by the way, it's not going to work on everybody. People are just going to be, dialed in and into their beliefs, and they're going to dig in and they're going to put their heels in the ground and they say, you are an animal killer, and that's just it. How dare you hurt that animal as they're chomping a Whopper? Just let them be. It might be an impossible Whopper. Who knows? Thank you so much for hanging out with me. This is the Go Show, celebrating all things outdoors in this beautiful outdoor world of a playground of a world that we live in. And we're going to do this every Saturday morning, 8 a.m. right on your favorite social media platform, whatever you're streaming on. Let's go ahead and do that, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Facebook, or whether it's YouTube. Play along, will you? And always feel free to join in on the chat as well. So, okay. I mentioned that in that last story that there's a picture of me and my son harvesting a bison. And we'll get into grip and grins and pictures of take a little bit later. But for now, I want to talk about the importance of doing what I did and why I am a complete 100% shoo-in for Outdoor Father of the Year. Dad of the Year, that's me. Stop taking calls. We have a winner. That's me. I'm a fan of heading up to see Tom at Blue Rooster Ranch up in northeastern Arizona. Basically, go to Flagstaff, turn right on 40, and drive for about an hour and 15 minutes. You'll find him right outside of Holbrook and Woodruff, and he's got a huge game ranch up there. Huge game ranch. And this is where, especially when we're talking about the North American model and the tenets of the North American model, this is where I get into a lot of debates with those that are like-minded, those outdoorsmen that hunt. High fence versus fair chase. I understand that that high fence hunting is not hunting. I'm going to be very, very clear, open, and honest with you. That is my opinion. High fence hunting is not hunting. It's like calling. It's like when people say they're mushroom hunting. Have you heard of this? This is a thing, by the way. People mushroom hunt. They call it hunting. Fine. You're collecting. And that's exactly what you're doing in high fence. I call it grocery shopping with firearms. It's exactly what it is. So my buddy Slavo and I decided to have a 2 freezers full of meat this year. And we wanted to split a bison and Watusi. Watusi, if you don't know, is African cattle. It's a cow with giant. I mean, makes the Longhorns in Texas look like they've just got little. Makes them look like button bucks is what it does. And the giant horns. They see such beautiful animals, but it's cow. So the Watusi I took last year, some of the best beef I've ever had in my life. And that's why Slavo and I decided to do that. By the way, you go to slavosalt.com, the best seasoning there is for any game ever. All 3 seasonings. You need to use them all, get them all. Slavosalt.com. Use the code GOSHOW and get 15% off your order. Okay, so check that out for sure. Hey, thank you, Nathan. Appreciate it. Happy that you're playing along with us. The Slavo and I decided we want a bison and want a Watusi. Again, we're grocery shopping with firearms. This isn't, I'm going out to hunt a bison. You see, Slavo makes it interesting, though. Slavo did the last time I saw him take a bison at Blue Rooster, he was belly crawling with a bow and got within, I believe, 60 yards of the herd with nothing. And I mean, nothing, no cover between him and the herd. So that's and put a perfect shot. The guy's like Robin Hood. It's scary. He's probably listening to this, and yeah, there's gonna be no working with him after that. But he is. He's amazing with a bow. I've seen that man pull off great shots. I landed a great shot on a bison, but I mean, he put himself in harm's way. That was hunting-ish, right? That was hunting adjacent, hunting like. High fence, I don't put in the hunting camp. I put in I didn't get drawn for a tag for the last 8 years for elk, right? And some people, I've been putting in 13 years now. I've got max points, and I still can't get drawn for elk. Okay. So how's your freezer looking? Oh, it's, let's see here. Fry's had a sale, and Bash's was still a thing? Whatever. Safeway had a deal, and I got a bunch of ribs at the last 3-day weekend, and yeah, no game meat. You see, I found an opportunity where I can go to a spot and I can pull unprocessed, pure, beautiful animal proteins and have them in the freezer for the entire year without having to get any of that beef from a processed grocery store. I choose that. So the debate between high fence and a fair chase hunting isn't a debate. I don't think it's a debate at all. I really don't. Fair chase is hunting. It's little hunting, especially in Arizona. Good grief. And if you're here in Arizona, you just landed here, or you've been here a little while, you haven't gone out hunting yet. Maybe you're here from the Midwest. I got to break it to you. You're going to relearn how to hunt. Period. You're going to have to relearn because this isn't put up a tree stand and wait for it to come along. By the way, if you're hunting deer in the Midwest, don't tell me you're hunting. Just don't. It's almost the same as high fence. It really is. I mean, come on. You're sitting there in a tree stand or a ground blind, and you're like, I don't want that one. I'll wait for a big one to come along. I'll wait for a big one to come along. It's a parade of it's a parade of meat. And so, yeah, it's not really hunting as well. So there are parts of the nation, though, that is fair chase, quite fair chase. And I think that's hunting. High fence is, again, grocery shopping with firearms. And we've broken down the price. The price came to about, especially bison, I believe it was, depending on if you want like trophy bison, things like that. The size of the bison, size of the feral hog, the size of the Watusi, it came down to about $9 a pound. Not bad. Not bad. The article this morning talking about how there's a shortage of beef at the grocery stores because of several factors, including drought. And so that is an opportunity to go up and just get beef and get bison, which has more omega-3 than salmon. So to go get healthier meat, more pure meat, cleaner meat, and do it for $9 a pound, I feel very blessed to be able to do so. Very lucky to be able to do so. So that's what we do. So when you see the post of my son and his bison and me and his bison, you'll understand exactly what we're doing. Oh, it wasn't fair chase. Okay. That was his 16th birthday present, essentially, not the bison, the actual experience of taking the bison. So let me get into that as well. Tom runs a great shop up there at Blue Rooster, really great program. You can check him out. His social media has just been so much fun lately and so much fun to watch. But Tom and I, in my son, we don't know his name yet, because he's the next intern. So it's either intern Nuge, intern Bud, intern John. We don't know yet, but I'm going with intern Nuge for now. So future intern Nuge and I are out there. Tom's guiding us. He's taking us to where he knows where he's kind of selected one. He's like, this is the target today. On the way out there, and my son's nervous as it is. My son's nervous. He wants to put a clean shot in. He didn't do very well at the range a couple days prior. And he's a little nervous. I'm ready to back him up because I'm all about clean, ethical take of an animal, period. And so he's nervous walking out. As we're going, it's taking about a half hour. We're kind of moseying to where we think we need to be. And Tom's telling the story. And I don't really know. I really wasn't paying attention because I was more paying attention to my son. I was paying attention to basically his nerves, where he was, making him enjoy the experience, take a deep breath, look around the beauty of the landscape and what we're doing here and really why we do these kinds of things. Meanwhile, Tom is telling a story that catches my attention too. He says, then the bison rammed him against the truck. I'm like, okay, wait a second. Wait, what is he talking about over here? Now, again, my son's nervous as it is. And Tom's just chatting away. And I love the man. I'm not knocking Tom at all. I was chatting away about a man that got gored by a bison. And he said basically from the thigh up, and he got the femoral artery. I forget what it's called. Yeah. So he tells the story of this man literally dying while he was hunting a bison. And he's telling the story. My son, I'm laughing inside, not at the story of a man losing his life, but the fact that Tom's telling the story. And I've got my son. Maybe he just assumed that he's my son, so he's just been around this kind of thing all the time, these kind of stories all the time, and he's sharing the story. I look over, and my son's eyes are just as wide. They look like pies. They're just these giant wide eyes, and I'm like, I pat him on the back. I'm just take a deep breath, man. He's just kind of shaking his head, like, "What did I just hear, Dad? What did I just hear?" So we about an hour later, we're kind of moseying around trying to find the right spot, the right target, the right everything. We wanted a great shot for John, and we find it. And I got to tell you, and I might post the video. I don't know. We'll figure that one out. But I have to tell you, I was as nervous as he was. And I'm going to tell you, I wasn't nervous for, my son and the take of an animal. I wasn't at all, because this was his moment. I think this was a fantastic moment. This man's first large game take was going to be an American bison. I mean, Again, that's why I am a lock in for outdoor dad of the year. So he gets the shoot sticks. I got him a shooting tripod, so he's as stable as can be. And I'm nervous because I didn't see him shoot well 2 days before. So I was a little nervous. And he had a 30 out with a 180 grain. So it had enough power, had enough punch. I figured everything was in line. Clear shot, clean shot, everything were at about 75, 85 yards. And I say that because I ranged him at 75 and then there was some movement. And so I mean the bison presented a broadside shot. Boom. And I got to tell you, there's absolutely no living with John at this point. There's no living with John because that was the cleanest, fastest take of an animal I have ever seen ever outside of bird hunting. I mean, unbelievable shot. Did not move, just dropped. I could not have been more shocked. I could not have been more proud. And I was blown away. I was absolutely blown away. And he's shaking. So for the non-hunters, please understand this, especially when things go perfectly like that. And when they go perfectly, and that is our aim, no pun intended, in every single take of an animal is that we want it clean, fast, done. And we can get into hunting ethics at a different time, but that's our goal, that's our aim. The adrenaline kicks in when it's done. One of the most interesting parts, especially big game hunting, is when you have that your target in the crosshairs. You have that moment. There's this moment of calm that you barely remember. I'll put it this way: for those that have drawn a compound bow before, they understand how hard that is. Like you're pulling with just very few muscles in your back, 50, 60 pounds, 70, 80 pounds. And it's very hard to do at the range. It's just, it takes a while, especially if you're throwing several arrows. It wears on you. It's tiring. The moment you have your target in sight, your body takes over. This is what your body was meant and prepared to do. Your body takes over. Every muscle that needs it gets it. And it's you don't even remember it. You don't even feel how hard it was to draw that bow. Pop. It's just there. And I've seen it. I've dealt with it several times. You think back on it. You're like, I don't even remember drawing. I don't remember any tension on the string. The adrenaline kicks in when it's done. When it's done and it's over and you see you have everything went perfect. That's when your adrenaline kicks in. So I look over at my son and I just see him like now he's shaking. He was cool as ice cold when he was running, when he was preparing, when he was locked in, dialed in. And that's everything in your body, your soul. It just dials in. And he was prepared. He was ready. His breathing was right. And it was boom, done. And then the shaking. So this is the part. Now I'm losing my mind. I'm like, John, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out. I'm thinking this is the craziest thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he perfect. Everything went perfect. I was so ready to grab the rifle from him and take care of that animal, but nope, didn't have to. And he's just shaking, the smile on his face, and just everything was just more than worth it. And I got to tell you, I'm blown away. He's hooked. He is now where he was kind of in and out. Like he'd go bird hunting with me, and he'd go fishing, and he loved being outside. He just was kind of like, yeah, it's kind of thing Dad does. Now he's in, and now he's dialed in, and I want to impress upon you the importance of that. And when I say obviously hyping myself Dad of the Year. But there's an event going on this weekend it's already filled up. It's already filled up. It's actually going on here in a couple of hours. It's called Wild in the City. It's put on by the great folks at Arizona Elk Society. And I encourage you to go over to Arizona Elk Society and see all of the camps and opportunities they have for you to give your kid a similar experience. And while in the city, we're not out taking animals. You're out learning about archery, learning firearm safety, learning nature and owl pellets and fishing. And you learn about all these outdoor opportunities and experiences outdoors. And it's at Game and Fish HQ off Carefree Highway and I-17. Wonderful facility that they have there. Several camps going on. Get over there and check it out. Just get over to ArizonaElkSociety.org and see the stuff that they have. And a lot of the other critter groups like Mule Deer Organization do camps, in Wildlife for Tomorrow, which I'm the vice president of, lucky enough to be the vice president of. We do a lot of fundraising things throughout the year to help put on these types of events for Game and Fish to really reach youth on the ground. It's very, very important. And speaking of Wildlife for Tomorrow, you check us out. If you want to be a part of the Celebrity Wing Shoot on February 17th, so the 17th, we're 2 weeks away, 2 weeks from today. If you'd like to be a part of that, get over to wildlifefortomorrow.org. It's a pheasant hunt. There's going to be some celebrities there, and it goes to a great cause. Wildlife for Tomorrow is the 501c3 partner of your Arizona Game and Fish Department. I don't know if you know this, but Arizona Game and Fish doesn't get $1 from the general tax fund in Arizona, not $1. So organizations like ours put on fundraising events and cool events like this to help support on the ground efforts for your Arizona Game and Fish Department. Get over to Wildlife for Tomorrow, wildlifefortomorrow.org. I'll get it out there and check it out. You're going to like it. It's a fun event. Good food. It's out at Desert Creek Sportsman's Club out there. Tony Marquez, Coach Tony. Yeah. Coach Tony trains up the hunting doggies, and he's got one heck of a hunt club out there. Just a lot of fun, just a lot of pheasant. And if you haven't had the experience of pheasant kebabs, pheasant lo mein, pheasant anything, you're missing out. I'm telling you, a little bit of a brine, making sure that those things stay what an amazing meal for the family. So get out there, check it out, but get over to wildlifefortomorrow.org and check it out. There are individual available, and you can buy a team as well. And if you have a company, there's sponsorship opportunities as well. And there's just buying a team and checking it out. There's going to be Nat Warfare. Oh my gosh. Nat Warfare, I almost forgot about that. I love the pheasant hunting part so much because I just love watching dogs work. I love watching dogs in the field. It is one of the most rewarding, satisfying things you could have. But Nat Warfare, it sounds funny, right? Nat Warfare, GNAT Warfare, Nat Warfare. They have drones that have exploding clay targets on the drones. And you get into a firing line, and they fly the drones in front of the firing line, and good luck. Those things are smoking too. Everybody, it's funny, like the first couple passes, you see these guys throw, everybody's shooting behind these things because they're smoking. But when you hit it, so cool. Exploding target, all that, too much fun. Nat Warfare is all going to be out there. So again, go to wildlifefortomorrow.org and check that out. So I appreciate you being here. I'm Mike Russell. I'm your host. I've been doing this for 11 years. It's now streaming on social media exclusively, and we're almost up and running with thegoshow.live, and we'll have our podcasts and videos up there for you to enjoy as well as links to our social media. So appreciate you hanging out. Some of you might have noticed a little defect in your host. This you see this here, this big cut at the bridge of my nose. Yeah. I want to get into the story of why I have a busted up nose. And I teased a little earlier that it might have something to do with a great white, but come on, it didn't have anything to do with a great white. This isn't that kind of a story. It has everything to do with that new Jaguar we found here in Arizona. So I decided to go wrestle this thing. I did not. This is what happened. It was game night. And game night, it was the game we were playing had one of those little hourglasses, those little 1 minute hourglasses, the little timer. And apparently it was my turn to be the timer. I wasn't paying attention. And one of the kids tossed it to me, and it hit me right perfectly square in the nose and put a nice cut right across the top there. And it was bleeding. Right? Yeah, your host, your outdoorsman for the last 11 years here in the Valley. That's what happened to my nose. It was a tragic game night incident. I wish I had something better. I gotta be honest. And here's why I have to be and you don't. And I want this to be very clear. Here's why I have to be honest. I have to be honest on air here because you have to hear my stories have to be believable because I'm on air. If you don't trust me, if you know I'm just BSing you this whole time, you're not going to tune in. Nobody's going to tune in. I have been open, honest, and essentially an open book for the last 15 years here on Arizona radio and 11 years here on the show, I've been very honest with you. So I don't have a lot of fishing or hunting stories, but please understand that that's part of our world. It just is. And I would encourage you to embrace it, especially the old guard. If you're listening to an uncle, an aunt, a grandparent telling stories, your parents telling stories about the outdoors, and you're like, there's just nothing believable about this. Just suspend disbelief. It's like going to the movie theater and watching Marvel or Star Wars, right? You just suspend disbelief, enjoy the story, enjoy the ride, and just know that that story's probably been told several dozen times, and it's different every single time. So usually there's somewhere that lies in the middle of those stories is the truth and actually what happened, especially in stories that don't involve photographic or video evidence. And I think that's probably a good indicator nowadays because, think about it. Back in the day, that's all we had was stories. I mean, everything's being recorded with cell video and cameras now and GoPros, and everything's being recorded. So if a hunting or fishing story does not start with, oh, hold on a second here. Let me grab my phone here and let me pull up that video. Let me pull up that picture. It's a story. It's a story like me wrestling the jaguar that's been discovered down south. Hey, you know what? I appreciate you. I appreciate you hanging out with us. You can check us out on all the social media platforms. I appreciate you playing along and having fun with us. We're going to do this every Saturday morning at 8. Again, we'll have some things going on throughout the week. And the Russell and Hunters, the Bromance, will be kicking off this week as well. So we're going to have a lot of time together, a lot of fun. And I appreciate you being here right here on the Go Show. Again, get over to wildlifefortomorrow.org. Check out that celebrity wing shoot. It's going to be an absolute blast with drones and exploding targets. Too much fun. And if you want to get your kiddos involved, and if you want to be Outdoor Parent of the Year, definitely get over to the Critter Sites is what we call them. One of the biggest and baddest here in Arizona that does a lot of camps for the kids, a lot of conservation stuff, a lot of fun things to get involved. Even if you're not into hunting and fishing, they do like meadow repair projects that you can get involved in. So much fun. Get over to ArizonaElkSociety.org and check them out as well. Until next week, have a great week, everybody. Get outdoors, get out there, have some fun. It's going to be a great week. Thanks for playing.